Minimum wage used to be connected to the cost of living, which meant that up until then, as things got more expensive, the minimum wage increased. That hasn't happened since the 1960s, so now there's this bigger gap between what things cost and what people are getting paid. I remember when I was a college student, my dad worked out at the plant as a superintendent, foreman or something at that point. And he was allowed, they had this sort of system where if you had that status, you could bring your kids on for summer work, right? So I was one of the summer students that got to work at the plant. I made $13 an hour back in I'm not going to tell you, but it was way back, 20, 30, 40 years ago. I made a lot of money, enough to buy my first little Chevy car. And that was cool. There are people making less than $13 an hour for the same kind of work now, 30 years later. So that in itself is just shameful. It just makes no sense. I think for one, it would stop that conversation about welfare, and because people want to make a living wage. They want to be able to pay their basic bills. Mental health-wise, it's stressful. I think in some respect it will stop a lot of the drug use and stop a lot of the violent stuff among kids, because it's very painful for kids to see their parents struggle like that, especially single moms. So a lot of these young boys get involved in crazy activities because when they get home they can't afford, if they do things the way they're supposed to do them, they can't afford anything. And so then their eye is more drawn to things that are just way too expensive, and they just want that stuff. They just want what the other kids have, but they want them even more so because they don't have them. So I think the living wage gives people the type of dignity and stability where they're not just grabbing anything, getting involved in anything. It's just like, okay, we can pay the bills. It's a steady situation here. Nobody's going to starve. We don't have to have these ups and downs all the time about lights being turned off, cars not running, how are we going to get here? You know, it's just, that's stress. That's too much stress. Why do we want anybody to be under that type of stress all the time?